Scoopy Radio. Overtime.
What's going on, everybody? Brandon Scoopy Robinson, Eastern University class of 2008 alumni, currently the host of the Scoopy Radio podcast, senior writer at Basketball Society and Heavy.com, and here today to talk about validation versus vindication. So I've been in the game for a long time. Journalism is my thing, basketball is my thing, and merged the two. Had a passion for it, went after it, and did what I needed to do. I was a student just like you in those seats at Eastern University, looking at windows on the world and saying, one day I'll be in this position and I'll be talking to students. But here's the difference. I never wanted to be that corny guy to sit up and just say, back in my day. I actually want to tell a story and not talk down, but talk to you guys. And one of the things that I think is very interesting, many people have asked me, why did you choose Eastern? And to be honest with you, I don't know. There were a lot of schools that I looked at, but Eastern made me feel at home. And they didn't have any of the programs that other schools had. But I think the thing that really drew me to the school was I really found myself spiritually, and also think that equipped me for the space that I'm in now, where you navigate the lines between me and my faith, me and the entertainment and sports space that I'm in. But bigger than that, when you're in that space, you definitely have to show and prove. And when I finished grad school, didn't do it at Eastern, did it at a school in New York, Hofstra University, I really built my brand from the ground up. And it started in 2013 at The Source magazine. For those who follow hip hop and know hip hop, The Source was considered the Bible of hip hop, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And I was in a situation where met some people, got a job there. Well, kinda. I worked for free and built equity. I wrote a lot of stories about not just basketball, but about hip hop. You name them, I've interviewed them. And so I used that space to really get to where I am now. So 2013 started The Source magazine. When I was there, crowdfunded to go to the NBA All-Star weekend in New Orleans. The Source wouldn't pay me to go. And I raised $2,300 in like 9 days to fly myself and a photographer out there, and reconnected with the NBA. I had an early start in '97, as you saw in a little clip earlier in the B-roll, but reconnected with the league, and that turned into a press conference that would kind of set some eyes on me. Donald Sterling, the former owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, had made some remarks about women and people of color. And Commissioner Adam Silver, commissioner of the NBA, held a press conference, and it was at that moment that I asked a question that got some headway.
Right on the right side here.
Commissioner Silver, Brandon Robinson of The Source magazine. Obviously, CarMax and State Farm withdrew their sponsorship with the LA Clippers. As you as the commissioner of the NBA, what would you tell other people who are maybe on the fence, or people who have withdrawn, to want to, in the future, invest in one of your franchises of the LA Clippers?
I would say that those marketing partners of the Clippers and partners of the entire NBA should judge us by our response to this incident.
Great opportunity, right? I had to make the choice between going there and not being paid versus walking and continuing to do what I was doing. I'm glad I made that choice. During that press conference, I got some time with the commissioner, and that opportunity opened some doors for me. So we talk about validation versus vindication. The text that I'm using today, and we'll go through that process, is actually Psalm 37, verses 6 through 16. And we'll get into that text in a minute. But I think it's important to remember, there's more to life than just having a job. Your purpose is bigger than you. And I think I really began to realize that in 2015, after I left The Source magazine, landed in a position at CBS. I was a contributor to CBS This Morning. I had a podcast called Brown and Scoop, which was a top 15 podcast through their Play It network, and was mentioned all over the place. TMZ, Complex, Bleacher Report, with controversial interviews that were dinner room conversations and kitchen table conversations, like The time Michael Jordan scored 48 points on somebody while singing Anita Baker's Giving You the Best That I Got. You definitely know that song. If you don't know it, I know your parents know it. Check it out.
Podcast that Michael Jordan used to sing at his opponents on the court. He once sang, "Giving you the best that I got."
Anita. Oh, Anita. She's the best. Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you.
The song.
It's such a great choice. First of all, no one's saying with more feeling than Anita Baker. And then giving you the best that I got. Oh, Michael Jordan, that's too
It wasn't
much.
a dude on the basketball court that didn't just want to sit down and just cuddle up.
He's not saying. By the way, Michael's not saying this isn't even my best. He's like, this is the best that I got. What you gonna do with it?
One of the things that I appreciated about that time at CBS was being a vessel for my cousin and putting other people in position to learn more about their craft on an entry level. My buddy Melvin, my buddy Chiron, or my cousin Chiron, and my buddy Brett got on-hand experience, booking guests, producing, doing more. And I did that show for a year. And I tell people all the time, as successful as that show was, it wasn't even about going viral and connecting with people. It was showing my cousin, who was not even 18 yet, what it meant to kind of get up every day, go to work, network with people, the importance of using tools like Pro Tools, which is, audio software and more. That experience really was rewarding because it's still benefiting my cousin today, and it's put my guys in positions and other networks and other companies to be successful. So I've had an early start, but it wasn't about me. It was about helping other people, and that's important to me. To whom much is given, much is required. And I always say this, the higher you go up on the elevator, it's your responsibility to send it back down. And I felt fulfilled in doing that, that I was able to do that and reconnect with people that I knew in my childhood and give them a platform to kind of revive their career. Various injuries and other things with players and that were no longer, kitchen table conversation people. It gave them an avenue to tell their story, and it benefited them. So that opportunity at CBS opened doors, gave me confidence, and transitioned me into two different roles that were kind of different. I'm a writer. I'm on TV and I do radio and podcasting, but I took a turn into the editing world as a managing editor and a columnist at a hip hop magazine called Respect Magazine. So not only was I writing, I was editing other people's work. I was giving advice. I was advising people on how to hone their craft on an entry level. Did that for a little while, for about 2 years actually, and then slid into my purpose. Slid into a position at Basketball Society where I became a senior columnist and broke a lot of NBA stories. If you paid attention to the news this past summer and last year, a certain guy named LeBron James joined the Los Angeles Lakers in 2018. And I had a lot of intel regarding not just LeBron and the Lakers, but his move from Cleveland to Los Angeles, which would benefit him in the intellectual property space with Space Jam 2 getting ready to come out. I was on the forefront of that movie and got a lot of press between that and where LeBron James would ultimately end up, which was the Los Angeles Lakers. And it was from there that a lot of information I began to get from people like Anthony Davis joining the Los Angeles Lakers. I was ahead of that whole media storm in 2018, the fall of 2018, the last basketball season. And then there were some other NBA trades that I got right, like Dennis Smith being traded to the New York Knicks from the Dallas Mavericks. Had that trade 2 weeks before it happened. And then some other trades before the NBA trade deadline. Like I'm really sitting and thinking, but there were a lot of trades that I was able to predict, break, and get TV and radio time, and then predictions based upon relationships, like Kyrie Irving joining the Brooklyn Nets. Had that. Jimmy Butler, I know this is Philadelphia area, former Sixer Jimmy Butler joining the Miami Heat, and some other things as well, like Chris Middleton re-signing with the Milwaukee Bucks. So use that experience at Basketball Society, not just predicting stories, not just, just throwing things out there and giving takes, but also really just connecting with the basketball world. And then there was a story that kind of changed the trajectory for me. Was I had information of Kevin Durant joining the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, before you laugh at me, there was talk of that. But Kevin Durant himself, people within his team, and people have the right to change their mind. But there was a tweet that I put out that made everybody look at me like, who is this guy? Is he crazy? And what does he know? Check this clip out.
Now, a gentleman by the name of Brandon Robinson, who has the Scoop B radio show. He is verified on Twitter. So, there's some amount of journalistic responsibility behind that. And this is what he tweeted. And it's interesting and it's juicy. Ready? He tweeted, spoke to a source today who confirmed Kevin Durant will be a LA Laker next year. Quote, just like LeBron planned his move LA a year or more earlier, hashtag KD is going to do the same right now. They want to form the best duo in the NBA and set up KD to be the face of the Lakers post hashtag LeBron. Jalen Rose, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I don't believe that's happening. But I'm going to ask you, do you think there's any validation to this? Any chance this is happening?
I just don't think it's going to take place. And for those...
Okay, so validation versus vindication. I know I keep talking about it. Why does this matter? Well, I talked about a lot of people going different places and people being traded. That's where the haters and the naysayers come. And that's where you have to be fundamentally sound, not just in mind, but in your soul and talking to God. Now, I didn't get KD going to the Lakers right, but some would say validation would be a conversation that I had with him. I talked about that recently on local TV in New York City. Check that out.
As I pull it up right here, you had spoke to a source today who confirmed Kevin Durant will be an LA Laker next year. Just like LeBron planned his move, LA a year or more earlier, KD is doing the same right now. They want to form the best duo in the NBA and set up KD to be the face of the Lakers post LeBron. Thank you so much for joining us, by the way. Really appreciate it. So first off, how did you come about researching this scoop? And as you alluded to on Twitter, like, you're just bringing the facts to the situation. It is not an absolute concrete done deal. We still have an 82-game season to be played. But in the end, do you believe that this is going to come to fruition?
I think it's possible, but I tell you, the feedback that I got on Twitter, it made me feel like my man's sound effect a little earlier. I was like, dude. People on Twitter were definitely giving me a hard time. But when you look at Kevin Durant and what he's been able to bring to Golden State this season, he's won 2 championships. And that team has a Klay Thompson issue. Will he stay? Will he go? There's been rumors that the Lakers are a team that are of interest. His dad was on ESPN, Michael Thompson, saying, a former Laker, by the way, that said that could happen. But I think when you look at Kevin Durant, he's given everything he could give to the Golden State Warriors.
So I talk about God's purpose for your life. Why is God's purpose important? Well, the Bible says obey. When I was at Eastern, I thought I was just going to graduate college and be this big TV reporter. I still will be. But what I'll say is, along the way, the journey is so important. So I'm going to take it a step back. One of the things that I learned from, I'll say, when I graduated 2011 to now is how important the journey is and how authentic your journey is, the more people connect with you. So when I finished grad school in 2011, one of the things that I'm thankful for is living in my grandmother's basement and commuting back and forth to Manhattan and building solid relationships with my brother. My father, biological father, passed away shortly after I finished grad school. And a promise that I made to myself was I was going to stay around until he graduated high school. And during that process, there were certain things that I was able to do with him being local. Same thing with my cousin and some of my other cousins, and basically being local, being around, and realizing as a positive person and as a person who is successful and growing in a career that is bigger than you, because I'm imparting wisdom on people, not just what I say, but how I move, how I talk, who I hang around, who I bring them around. And I think that's so very important. Now, when I talk about validation and vindication, I first of all think that you should validate yourself. And the only way the only place that you should get validation from is parking. But I'll tell you that in your walk in my career, more specifically, people are going to question you. And what I found this summer was, in getting a ton of news and getting a ton of things right and getting some things wrong, one of the things that I personally felt validated in was this summer. If you guys recall, Russell Westbrook was traded from the Oklahoma City Thunder to the Houston Rockets.
Juice has been on this path for a long time, to get you guys to come out to the show means a lot. As a friend of him and other friends here as well, to come out and support him. He's been doing so many great things around the city here in Tulsa. He's put a lot of work in, so I want to thank you guys for supporting him, supporting what he believes in, supporting great cause. And thank you guys in Tulsa for supporting me all the years.
And I was with him the day he got traded at a comedy show that he hosted. I flew out to Oklahoma. And that story, or rather that event, was the first of anybody getting any type of response from Russell after being traded. And the video that I had went viral, was on ESPN, was on Bleacher Report, was on a myriad of places. And throughout the course of the last NBA season, I caught a ton of hate, tweets, people on radio and TV questioning my validity and questioning my knowledge or my sources in the league. But what I found was the best way to drown out all those naysayers is to keep working and to keep your faith and to have belief in yourself that whatever you do, you do it to completion. And this past summer, being around Russell Westbrook, that set a new set of eyes on me, my brand, and what I do. And I think that that's so important. When you look at Psalm 37 verses 6 through 16. One of the things that stands out is verse 11, which says, "But the meek shall inherit the earth and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace." And I'll tell you something. This is a short snippet, a short video of what we'll talk about today during Windows on the World. But it's pretty peaceful these days. Walking within my purpose, helping other people, and having fun in the process. I think that living within your purpose, knowing what you're called to do, is alignment. And when you have that alignment in what you're doing, you can have clarity. And I think even in the spiritual world, in your walk with life, when you have that clarity, when you pray, when you listen to God, when you hang around like-minded people, when you fellowship, when you have that quiet time with the Lord, you're able to have clarity and have vision in what it is that you need to be doing.
Scoop B Radio. Overtime.